Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Hinches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today, weekend edition. Today is Saturday, February 28th, last day of February. So this is the end of the month, end of the trading for the month. We're going to take a look at all of the indices on daily, weekly, monthly basis, look at our indicators and several market, a lot of ETFs today, and then Valero, Whole Foods, U.S. Steel, Yelp, and Tesla. Okay, the Dow, start off here with the Dow Industrials. The Dow was down 81.7 points on Friday. So a little bit of a pullback. We're still above the 10. You know, if we're looking at waves, if we're saying this is a wave 3, and we'll look at this more on an SPX, on a S&P 500, but if you say this is 1 and this is 2, and you're thinking this is 3, this is 4, this can't be a 4 because it's overlapping 1. 4 never overlaps 1. So then this must be 1, 2, 3 of some kind of the third wave, okay? So we'll see what kind of pullback we get in here. We've had a couple pullbacks before. We're continuing to ride above the 10. S&P 500, similar type thing. You know, 1, 2, 3. You know, again, it's hard to tell what's really going on in terms of a wave count here. We're getting a pullback. This could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, sideways 4, 5, short little 5. So this could be a little 5-wave sequence up that we're getting ready to pull back. Again, we just continue to watch. Let's take a look at we're not really getting any divergence other than the fact that we're up here right at the upper end of the RSI channel, you know, the 70 area, the overbought area. But again, I always hesitate to say overbought because just because it's up there, I've said this before, just because it's up there in that area doesn't mean it can't continue to push, just like right over here, okay? Things that are overbought can get more overbought, and things that are oversold can get more oversold. All right, let me go to the NASDAQ real quick. Similar type thing. Again, we talked about how this was riding above the Keltner channel here, this dotted line. And so it's right in here. It didn't close below prior day low or anything like that. And New York Composite is what I'm looking for. Let me pause. Okay, so here's the New York Composite on a daily basis. So again, we've kind of gone sideways. I mean, you look at this on the 18th, 11,064. We're at 11,062 now, so we've been down 2 points over the last 2, 4, 6, 7 trading days. So kind of a sideways push. And the next one, the Russell 2000, similar type scenario. They're all looking very similar right now. All right, we'll take a look at the weekly charts. Okay, so the Dow weekly here is like a little doji bar. Okay, so a little bit of a pause, a little bit of, see how the bar got tighter? So the trading range for the last week was tighter than the previous trading range, which was tighter than that previous trading range. So we got a little bit of tightening going on, which could mean we're going to get a pullback, or it could mean sideways consolidation for a week or two. You just never know what the market's going to do when it's doing it. And you're seeing this on the S&P 500 too. Are we getting divergence? Yeah, but again, it's just a little bit of a warning sign. It could be a pause, could be a pullback. So it's just, the whole point is here to note the price action, to note what it's doing. It's hard to predict what does that mean necessarily for the very next week. NASDAQ weekly, I want to look for the New York Composite weekly. Okay, here's the New York Composite weekly again, a couple little doji bars, back to back on weeks, tight trading range here, which makes, hitting targets on trades with stocks and that type of thing, I've noticed it's been a little difficult, especially last few weeks. And part of that is that we're getting a little more constrained movement on the market. Okay, here's the Russell 2000 weekly, and again, a similar type action. I got this 1347 up here because I talked about this last time, about how, it was in this trading range. It seems to be breaking out, could move up this same distance up to the top. All right, now let's take a look at monthly chart. Okay, so here's a chart showing all the indices on a monthly basis. So you can see the kind of what's happened this last month. You know, we thought we might be having a little bit of an evening star type formation, and it really didn't continue. It kind of failed. You know, this was very similar to the top back in 2007, and then we get this really big bullish bar for the month of February. And so, I mean, look how strong the NASDAQ is in terms of pushing up. You know, the New York Composite here, closing 1162. And so, you know, that is the highest monthly close on the New York Composite. Okay. Same thing. They're all closing at record high monthly close, except the NASDAQ doesn't have that record high yet. So, all right, that's kind of the view on the monthly charts. Now let's move into our indicator. Short-term trading index, not a whole lot of change going on there. CBOE volatility index, the VIX, continues to trend to the downside, although it's been going sideways for the last, couple of days in here. But again, no real solid reading other than it continues. It tries intraday to rally a little bit and then it sells off. And so it's kind of going, it's interesting that this was down. The VIX was down on Friday and the market was down. So that's a little bit of an anomaly going on there. I'm not sure how to explain that. And here's the high-low. It continued only 95 new highs for the day, net new highs over new lows, and that's the lowest since back over here mid-month. So again, last 2 weeks we've been trending backwards here, not confirming, again, like I've talked about, the upward movement in the indices. All right, now we're going to look for the McClellan oscillator. Okay, here's the McClellan oscillator on the New York Stock Exchange. And again, this is trading right in the middle of this range, and it just is, just compressing sideways. It just looks like, this is compressing, and that we're going to get a move one way or the other here. And of course, we get a move to the high side that confirms the upward movement that we're in, and then we get kind of an extreme reading. That's what I'm looking for this to happen. Okay, the last indicator I'm going to mention is the put to call, and let me bring it over in here. The 10-day put to call on the equities only puts and calls, not indices, okay? I'm tracking the equity put to call. This is the 10-day reading. This was the reading on Friday. The 10-day is 0.59. So we're still not, I don't consider it to be an extreme reading until we get down into below 0.55. And you'll see that if I scan back up, I scroll back up a little bit, we didn't get that until get into that area. And, we haven't been there since last June. And last June was kind of a prelude. You can see these individual day readings. I marked them as extreme because they're down in the 0.4. We even had a 0.38, okay? But here's the 10-day readings. And so our most extreme occurred June 17th to June 20th. Well, this was all happening before the market peaked out in July, and then the whole sell-off into September. So right now we are not at an extreme reading yet, not like what we had back in June. Okay, next we're going to look at some of the market in the ETF. Okay, here's the high yield bond fund. We've been talking about how this continues to rally. This says the risk appetite is on. People are looking to risk. They're willing to take it. They're buying high yield bonds. And that usually is in sync with the market going up. The next one is TLT. Okay, the long-term bonds rose on Friday, but really it kind of trended down. Let's see. Well, they're up for the week. They're definitely up for the week. A week ago was the 20th. So yeah, we've got this trend. So they've been rallying, although I'm telling you, when I look at this, a couple closes above the 10, didn't break the high up in there, didn't confirm that. So this is telling me that it wants to go higher yet. I'm not convinced. Just have to watch, see if we get another couple closes in a row above the 10 and then it continues to push to the high side. All right, the next one is the US dollar. And the US dollar had a pause day on Friday after that breakout day on Thursday. So it does look like it's breaking out of this sideways consolidation pattern. So then what does that mean for oil? Oil was up slightly on Friday. So it's, still in its consolidation pattern here. It hasn't really totally broken down yet, if that's what it's going to do. And then the last one in the sequence is gold shares ETF. You could see that gold was trying to turn, but until I start seeing a couple of days of trading above the 10, I don't start getting really excited about it. It tried to get up there, but it continued to close below the 10. So right now we're still in this short-term downtrend here, on a pullback. Okay, next I'm going to look at some of the market sectors, starting off with the semiconductor. Okay, here's the semiconductors SMH, and had a big move up on Tuesday, been sideways Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But continuing the trend, continuing to ride above the 10, and it's above, this previous high over here in early December. So it's, looking nice, although this does look like short-term little 5 waves here, although I honestly don't have any kind of a wave count on this. This may be a first minor wave. This almost looks like a 1, 2, and working a 1 within the third wave kind of thing, but again, don't have an overall wave count on it. Next is the S&P home builders. Okay, so the home builders, they popped on Tuesday too, but then they pulled right back down on Wednesday, and so you can see where we're at is really just about sideways over the last couple of weeks. In here, since right here, 36.36, we're at 36.34 right now. So the next one we're going to look at here is the financial sector. Okay, so the financial sector is a similar type thing, chopping sideways, and actually on February 12th, a little over 2 weeks ago, 24.45, we're at 24.35 right now. So down, up, and slightly back down again. So short-term trend is to the high side, and it's trying to push up here, but it hasn't moved to any kind of new highs like the semiconductor yet. All right, the next one is the NASDAQ biotechnology sector. Okay, here's the NASDAQ biotechnology sector, ticker symbol IBB. Tim, I hope this is what you're looking for, but we're introducing this, and of course we're going to add another ETF too. So, all right, so this is, you can see the biotech area has been very strong, just continuing to trend up, new highs, higher lows, higher highs up in here. This has gone sideways a little bit over the last 5 trading days though. So we're in a little bit of consolidation. But when you look at this, I'm not really seeing very short-term divergence. Not really seeing it here on the directional movement, very slight on the demand index also. So let me take a look on a weekly basis. And you're seeing that, again, because of the sideways movement, we've got a little doji bar for the week. So a little bit of a pause day going on here. Doesn't necessarily, you could look at how you had a couple weeks of pause right in here, and then it just resumes the upward movement. So again, we'll just continue to watch this. But right now, all the moving averages are aligned to the high side, and as I said before, it just continues to trend pretty strongly here. And again, don't have a wave count on this. The last one we're going to take a look at is the energy sector. Okay, so the energy sector has been trying to turn here. The intermediate, the 21 broke above the 55. You had the short-term trend up. It got to this downtrend line. Okay, since this actually, the peak was back here in June, but if you draw a trend line across the little rally here in late August, the rally in November, and this rally here tried to break that trend line. It did break it. The other thing to note here too on the energy is if you got a low here, a new low, and then you get this rally. So if you drew a box between here and here, it tried to do a little breakout. At the same time, it was breaking this trend line, but it was a false breakout. It pulled back down in below this peak. So right now, it kind of looks like it's trying to roll over, but it's hard to tell. We're going to need another day breaking down below this, and then getting that blue line, the 10, to break down below the 21 again. So we'll see. This little intermediate, the 21 above the 55, may have been just a little bit of a fake out move. Unless this turns and closes back above the 10 again. Now we could have a little consolidation going on. Let me blow it up a little bit. as you can see on USL, when we looked at crude, you know, there was some consolidation going on and sideways. And so when you look at the energy sector, which is made up of, you know, oil and oil-related type stocks, you know, we've got a little bit of a consolidation pattern going on here too. Now, so we'll see whether this then turns back up to the high side or whether it continues to roll over. All right, that's it for the market sectors. Now we're going to look at Valero. And when you look at Valero, all you can say is, wow. I mean, because this thing just went straight up like a rocket and it never looked back. It, you know, it just, you know, I mean, just look at this. So right now we're getting a little bit of sideways consolidation in here. Are we getting any divergence? Nope. And, you know, very strong on the RSI. And again, a lot of times that's a confirmation of a strong bullish move. Not getting any divergence here. No, not really. And if we look at the demand index, not really showing any, you know, negative divergence there either. So could we get a little pullback and then we rally again? And remember, a lot of times tops will do this, what you call an M top type thing, you know, and by M top, I'm talking about, you get this peak and you get a pullback and you get another peak and then you come back down and then you're chopping down and you got this little M version type thing. So you watch for that, just the opposite of, you know, a W type thing for bottoms. Okay, so those are the things that you kind of have to keep in mind and watch when you're watching the price patterns. Okay, so right now, not really seeing anything in terms of a signal on Valero. Let's take a look at Whole Foods market. And WFM is just kind of moving sideways. Had this big whipping day, you know, there must have been some news. It came all the way back down. I can't remember if it was, might have been earnings that day. And then it closes high, and then, you know, that was it. It's like, you know, it's like it exhausted all its energy, and now it's pausing, you know, just compressing sideways. And, you know, you had a big, you know, it wasn't that day. That wasn't the big volume day. So that's kind of interesting. Not really seeing anything there on the RSI. You know, not really seeing, I mean, this isn't a high move. This is a high move. Not really seeing anything there either. So, we're, you know, it could just be in a sideways pause before it continues to resume its move. Now we're going to take a look at U.S. Steel. Now I'm going to revisit this again tomorrow because this is one of my trade ideas. You know, we did buy puts right down in here, so now it's finally, you know, we had a little setback and it's rolled back over again like I was expecting it to do. So we'll see whether this continues to roll on over like I thought it was. And do we have the 10 below the 21 here? I'm looking. No, it's right on it. So the 10 and 21 are almost identical right here. So we'll see whether we continue to get a movement to the downside on U.S. Steel. And the next one is Yelp. Okay, so Yelp has, again, been trading sideways since here on the last 2 weeks. You can see the last 2 weeks trending sideways. It looks like it's trying to turn, but these don't look like real bullish bars to me. And I'm not sure this has gone down far enough. And the other thing, remember I had drawn these fan lines in here, and I was trying to play this back in here because I was really expecting another downdraft move, and it just kept stalling out. And it pulled back to the fan line, stalled out, pulled back to the fan line, and then it collapsed. Okay, so, you know, that collapse, I mean, it was really going to be really hard to have played that because it didn't give you any warning or ability to get back in. I mean, you'd have been protecting yourself in here if you'd gone short. You'd probably been getting out, and then all of a sudden it collapses. So, you know, go figure. Sometimes the stocks just, you know, just do that, and you know, what are you going to do? And so right now, you could see I drew another fan line around across this low here with this previous very important low over here, and all it's done is pull back up to that line. They pull back up the line on the 13th. It's kind of pulled back a little bit to there on Thursday. And when I look at the corrective pattern that's going on here on Yelp, you know, I think we've completed 5 waves up here. So we're in this correction. So the real question is, has the correction corrected enough? Now, it filled this gap. See this big gap over here? So that's where we got on that big downdraft on the 9th, 8th, 9th. Came right down and closed that gap right into there. Okay, So now the question is, has it gone far enough? And when we look at, I make a projection, where does C, okay, here's A, here's just this A, go back to the end of B. So where would C, if this is C down here, or it could be here, or it could be down here, C would equal A down here around 33 to 34. So the real question is, watching this wave count and seeing whether this turns or continues down, I'd have to say right now, we're still in a short-term, intermediate, and long-term downtrend. There's no reason to say, it's not telling you that it's ready to buy this thing yet, in my opinion. So I think, downtrend is still on Yelp. All right, the next one and last one we're going to take a look at is Tesla. Okay, Tesla Motors. Tesla was down 3.85 on Friday. So I know some people have been talking about this and saying it's in an ugly chart and it's trending down. And you can't argue with the fact that we're continuing to have lower lows and lower highs. This does not go to new high. But I still think, and when I talked about this on the 19th, that was back here after the close on this day. I still think there's a real good possibility that we are starting out trying to get going on another wave count to the high side, another wave 3. We've had, when you back on out of this whole move, I think we've had a big, strong wave 1 here, and in that we've been consolidating, trending sideways correctively, okay? And when I looked at the wave count and zoom in on this, I think we've got an A and then a B. You can see the B is hiding up in here, okay? And when you get this B move, everybody's like, oh, wow, we're blasting off. And I really didn't expect this to go a whole lot. It actually went a little further than I thought it was going to go. I thought it would just come up and test this high. But it went a little further, and that's a lot of times you'll get that out of a B. And then I was expecting to come back down and go right down to A and maybe a little bit deeper. Well, it didn't quite get there, but it does look like 5 waves in here to me, which is what you expect in a wave C. So you got an A, B, C, okay? So this is what you call, because this is a little slightly higher, this looks like a little bit of a running flat to me from an Elliott wave perspective. That is very bullish, all right? Now, it's always hard down in here when we're trying to get started again, okay? I mean, when you're trying to get started on the first 1 and 2 waves and getting this pullback. This pullback was exactly what I expected. I talked about that when back in here before it even happened. I was expecting, because this looks like a 5-wave up move, impulse move to me. So now, when you're looking at this, let me get rid of the crosshairs. We got this pullback. So now, if it breaks this low, then I'm going to be like, okay, how much further is it going to pull back? If it breaks this low, that's going to be a little more negative. The absolute one that for this scenario has to hold is this point down here, and that's 185. So that's a lot of risk to say you bought and said, well, okay, I think, big strong wave 3 is coming. My uncle point's 185. Well, that's, 18 points below where it closed on Friday. So right now, I would say, I think we've got a bullish scenario developing here. But what I want to see is a couple of closes above the blue, like it did here, above the 10, but then break that high of the 10 more substantially than this. This wasn't very, very much of a break. Okay, and get this thing to start turning up. And of course, one of the indicators that that's happening on a positive note is if you break a little trend line right here, then you could get a swing move that happens. So here you get a little bit of this. You get a swing move that happens like that if it breaks this trend line. Then I think we're going to have a good chance that we're going to be off to the races and that this next move is going to go and that we're off on this bigger move. So that's what I'm watching for. This is the scenario on Tesla. I have no idea why it would cause it to go on. All I'm looking at is, I know we had this rumor about, Apple and all that kind of stuff. But, really it was from some Chinese article or newsletter or something like that. And they were citing, supposedly, I'm drawing a blank. Who's the founder of Tesla? That they were citing him going into Apple headquarters and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, if that's true, there'd be a heck of a lot more people talking about it and saying it than that. And I don't think that that kind of activity would be so blatant that they'd be doing that. So anyway, right now I am just going off the chart, going off what I'm seeing and trying to read the wave count. And right now, I think there's a real good chance that we're getting ready to do a 3, and we'll see if that plays out. All right, that's it for the weekend, and I'll be back tomorrow with trade ideas, and we'll kind of go from there. So if you're watching this anywhere else but my website, head on over there, check out the other posts I've got and things I've got for you. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. It's easy to do. It gives you access to the Trade Ideas webpage and the PDF, the 5 Essentials. So until next time, stay focused, follow your plan, and trade without fear. Have a great weekend, everyone.